out for the overall interest of the country as much as they should be.
You've just criticized the left wing of the Republican Party. How about the far right wing of the Republican Party? Do they help in that polarization that pulls America apart? And do you have some words with respect to that end? And are you the candidate to bring them together?
I don't think that we are dominated in any way, or that there's any significant influence in any way of extremists in our party. I'm not just making a partisan comment, but when I see a party that criticizes our generals and holds them up to ridicule when they send them off to Iraq to do a job for us and doing a magnificent job in General Petraeus's case, where they said the most awful things that they could about him, and signed off on MoveOn.org's ad that accused him of betraying us. When I see vote after vote after vote to defund the troops in Iraq, knowing that it's not going to pass, doing it only to appease a part of their party that's the most activist, I mean, I think I'm fair in making that assessment. I don't see that in operation on the Republican side of the party. You know, there are extremists all over the place. I mean, you can always pick some people out. But in terms of domination of a party, I just don't think it's the same. And as far as bringing people together, the main thing that's going to happen is that the American people are going to have to say they're tired of it. And they're going to have to tell members of both parties that they want them to do better. And if we elect a president, a good, solid, common sense, conservative president that can unify the Republican Party and also get some right-thinking Democrats and independent votes, it's the way Ronald Reagan did, then that will be sending a message to everyone. Then the president's going to have to take that message, go to Congress and say, look, I want to work with you folks. But if we can't come together on some basic principles, then I'm going to go back to the American people. I'm going to take it back to the American people. I'm going to have a little chat with them about what's going on here and speak the truth to them. Then the pressure will come on them, and they'll look at it as in their self-interest to cooperate. That's what it's going to take. I don't think a lot of the politicians are going to, of their own volition, just change their stripes overnight.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned last night when you were in Knoxville that you were leaving to go on Hannity and Combs, and people enjoy that show, and I know, and that for ratings' sake, I'm wondering if these shows and some others like it trivialize the process and further polarize America. And I was thinking back last night about some historical examples of our great statesmen appearing today on some of these shows. And so let's imagine a few scenarios. George Washington on Hannity and Combs, Thomas Jefferson being interviewed by Al Franken, Lincoln by Michael Moore, JFK on O'Reilly, and just think what Rush Limbaugh would do to FDR.
Or me being interviewed by you.
Well,
I'm sorry, I couldn't pass that up. You know, that was too easy.
Yeah,
sorry.
I guess so.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I walk into these things sometimes. But I'm not here to polarize the people of Marion County.
Right.
I am not. One of the things that we try to do in local radio and local media is unify communities in many ways and bring them together so that we can better our communities. And I'm not sure that a lot of these other media people are, and that in fact it trivializes some of the great statesmen. Do you agree, or is it?
Well, first of all, that's one of the reasons why I am doing what I'm doing with regard to these radio town hall meetings, and why I'm here today, because what you say I think is true in terms of local radio. I can say that about the local print press also. We're going to these little towns and communities, sitting down with editors of newspapers and talking to them about it, and it moves away from some of these things that you're talking about. But you know, the media is the media. I've often thought about when they talk about qualifications for president nowadays, and you know, whether or not a person has got the requisite personal ambition or fire in the belly to be president. They had to practically make George Washington become president. And then when he wanted to leave after 2 terms, they said, well, the republic will fall if you leave. I mean, you've got to be. He knew better. He got on his horse, rode out of town, never even came back to visit. I envision sometimes Abraham Lincoln at one of these presidential debates, standing there in a row, you know, like a bunch of, you know, trained seals waiting for somebody to throw him another fish. Would Lincoln, would Washington, John Adams, would they have subjected themselves to that process? No. Those debates will never be confused with the Lincoln-Douglas debates, I'll tell you that. So it has changed. The process has become more trivialized than it should. I think the wrong characteristics often are elevated. Who's got the most personal ambition? Who's visited X town how many times is going to get my vote? That sort of thing. I think we have to we wade through all this stuff. We realize what it is. The media is what it is. If back during Washington's era, if someone could have gone home and turned on the television, we'd probably had the same thing we have today. It's just a matter of technology and the media following along, and us following along in the media. We got to cut through all that and focus in on what's important, focus in on the future of our country, what we need in a president to help us, help lead us through tough and challenging times, and someone who'll be honest and credible. I think the guys that you mentioned, the founding fathers and the others that have followed them, that have become great leaders, have had certain characteristics, and that is personal honor and integrity, and the willingness to speak the truth even when it was unpopular. And I think that's just as applicable today as it was back then. And hopefully at the end of the day, the American people will see that the same way, regardless of all this clutter.
Okay, so enough of the media for the moment, and let's let some of the citizens speak. If someone has a question.
Can I first of all thank my friend, Congressman Steve King, for being here.